So I forgot to mention a few things yesterday when I was talking about surrounded by bad bosses. Had some stuff on this side. So I'd printed off some information, and I guess I can show you, well, or I could just tell you. The colors that Thomas Erikson chooses, these are typical. If you look into the disc method, you'll see red, yellow, green, and blue used, but they're not always assigned to the same personality type. So anyway, and in this one that I printed off, they had assigned dominance the green color, which although Thomas Erikson says he uses the Luschers color test to assign his colors, he just does not. He has no idea what the Luschers color test is about, because if he, like, assigning green to the stable people, or in this, they're not always called stable. In fact, the disc model, the names have changed over the years. This, in the one that I printed off here, it's steadiness instead of, anyway, stable. But in any case, he is assigned green to them. And what does green mean?
Well, it's ambition, jealousy, with defensive individualism. Wow.
Which has nothing to do with the steadiness people.
So here's what it says for green here on the back of the cover of this book that's facing you.
Yes.
Green, the most selfless of the bunch. What? You
Greens
know, like
are relaxed, friendly, and loyal. Well,
so
that's not
green is not relaxed. It is tension.
The color, according to Luschers.
Yeah. So it controls the involuntary muscles of the body. It's very much ego-directed, defensive ego.
So
friendly, it's not friendly.
Made this, they did
loyal,
a better job.
No, blue is the loyal color.
Thomas.
Yeah, it's
he really blew it.
If you're watching, what is his name, Erikson or something like that? Dude, jeez.
I mean, he's already. This is. I borrowed this copy because I wanted to show how he's changed some things, because this wasn't the copy that I reviewed. I reviewed to see this one says over a million copies sold or whatever at the top. So this was not the first edition, and he's made some changes in this since the first edition.
As I recall it, the first edition was really not so.
Oh yeah, yeah. He made so many mistakes, but I mean that's.
What was he saying that the analytical people were extroverted? Who was he saying?
He had the extroverted introverted
He's all screwed up.
Line going the wrong way. He had one picture of himself like this, and he's writing a book saying, "Oh yeah, how to communicate," and it's like
this
not with him.
You're close.
So he changed that, so that's not in there. And he changed the names. At first, he had he went with, what's his name? Marston? Is that the name?
I don't know.
The guy who came up with the disc method, and Wonder Woman.
And Wonder Woman. Okay,
more exciting.
There we go. Yeah.
But anyway, so I'll show you James's food.
Yeah, I didn't launch into the food
because it's so pretty.
It's very nicely done.
Yeah.
You know, it's got the 5 color system.
Yes.
So
I forgot to bring the dip for the.
Luscher talks about a 4-color system
for the beans and stuff. So maybe you want to talk about your books for a while I go get the dip, or are you going to eat the burger first?
I'll wait later for the dip and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna. Luscher has 4 colors.
Yeah.
Now the green he's got a little more blue in it, so it looks like.
You mean the disc has 4 colors?
Well, Luscher does.
Luscher has more than 4.
Okay. He talks about the 4 primary colors.
Oh, I see. Okay.
His green is more like a spruce green.
Yeah.
What is that? What type of spruce is that has the bluish green stuff?
Whoa, don't wiggle like that. Holy gosh.
I kept it from basically
Thank
hitting the
you.
deck. I got my foot underneath.
Paris wanted up badly.
Yeah, I know. You stay there, Paris. But and then he's got a orange red. It's almost exactly like this, maybe a little more.
That's a nice
orange.
red.
He's got a mauve that's nicer looking than this.
Yes.
And then he's got a yellow here. And then he's got, other colors too, like a brown.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of black here, a little bit of charcoal.
Charred.
kind of stuff. And there's not, thank heavens, any gray there, but he has 8 colors on the popularization of his color. I think he calls it the color test, too sure. Or called it, he's probably long dead.
But really, the disc model was a dominance and submission model. So the names, people have pulled away from that, and in the book Erikson, the first edition of this, he'd actually used the original names, the original titles for the characters, for the personality types. So it was dominance, induction, compliance, and submission. I think that's it.
Good.
Yeah. So
So what were the yellow ones? What were they?
induction. They're the
What?
ones that use
The-
charm to get away
Induction.
with. I think so.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. So what were the blues called?
Compliance.
Com-
Well, they'll comply, but they don't want to.
No,
I mean, they just don't want to get
those
killed
names were all wrong. But you're
or
saying they,
abused any worse than they
well,
will be.
I mean, many of them died.
Yeah.
I mean,
But anyway, what was I gonna? Okay, so so do try to find the first edition of this book, just so that it gives you an idea of, oh, maybe this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, even though he's sold so many copies of his book, and he's running around. He was talking in this book about how busy he was. He was probably at this very moment while you're reading this, I'm probably getting ready to go give a lecture, because he's such a busy person. And it's like, okay, during the pandemic, you're running around giving lectures.
yeah.
That's smart.
The other thing is, communication is a two-way street. And here's the deal: you don't learn by flapping your gums.
Yeah.
You obviously haven't learned enough. You shouldn't be flapping your gums. You should be actually out there, reading more. I think Lucier, he claimed at least that he based his color test, his personality analysis on actual
Well, that's
statistical analysis.
yes, and that's just it. Is he's riding coattails, and really he doesn't, as far as I can tell, he doesn't have any education at all. It's
He's not even claiming to be an MD or a PhD or some or MA.
no,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So he's making loads of cash and he hasn't put the work in,
Yeah, he sounds
Anyway.
like an idiot surrounded
Yeah.
by competence.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's talking about how reds, as he calls them, the dominants, they have so little time, It's like, no, they have so little patience. They could afford to be putting more work in. Their share. They should put their share of the work in. Anyway.
And it's either rolling up their sleeves and doing grunt work, like the so-called Greens do.
cracking a few books.
Yeah,
learning.
exactly right. And learning how stupid
But you
they
have
are.
to actually have more patience than like reading 3 lines, 3 sentences.
Is
That's
that what he was
suggests
saying?
in there. If
Yeah.
you're gonna
Try to communicate
with a red, you just keep it simple. Get right to the point.
No.
Okay.
I suggest if you want to communicate with a red and get through to them, you wave at them, but you only lift one finger.
Wave goodbye.
Wave goodbye, but make sure that
Anyway.
that 3 of your fingers get lazy.
3 343. That's page 343. Red bosses fail to give feedback because they don't understand sweet talking. If they give any feedback, it's negative. Yellow bosses fail to give feedback because they're self-centered. Green bosses avoid giving negative feedback since it may lead to conflict. Blue bosses...
Since they don't end up being bosses at all.
Yeah.
They're the ones, you can't afford to have them wasting time as a boss because they're actually doing grunt work, the stuff that has to get done.
Blue bosses are good at detailing every mistake, negative feedback, but rarely are they good at giving positive feedback. Phase 1, high will skill. It's good, you're eager. You say to them, now this is what you should do. Phase 2, low will skill. It's tough going, but I'll help you get through. And phase 3, low will, high skill. You feel uncertain, but you've got what it takes and have done it before. Phase 4, high will, high skill. I'm really pleased with what you contribute to our work. So he went over that in this book. There's a lot of repetition from this to this.
That's what happens with popularizers.
Yeah.
They come out with one version after another of the same basic, silly, stupid idea that they've had.
And so I didn't like that, but I did think that he had some points that were valuable in this, like in how to talk to the various types, or how to best communicate with them. With the dominants, giving them just really simple, straight to the point. That's all they're gonna. I mean, you got to keep them focused.
That's
Come
right.
on.
That's right.
Am I losing you?
Exactly.
You know, you got to keep them focused.
And the best thing is 2 words: get lost.
And he said with the influencers, or yellows as he calls them, or.
So the reds are deciders, like George Bush Jr.
No.
But
George Bush Jr. was a yellow.
I know, but he was calling himself a decider.
I know.
The real
He was
decider was Dick Cheney.
Yes.
He's a red.
Yeah. So anyway, the yellows, as he calls them, he said, use bullet points. Write them a memo, bullet points. And that's so true. They love bullet points. And
but you're not going to communicate with them. They love the bullet points, but they're all about me.
yeah.
And look. Me. Look.
Anyway. So with the greens, as he calls them, he really doesn't have a good way to communicate with them. I don't think he understands them at all, and he says he doesn't have green. He doesn't have
in his personality. No kidding.
And it's
he never does.
Yeah, I get that, because
you didn't have to tell us.
I mean, greens, they're the actual communicators. They're the ones that are master communicators. And here he is writing books on communication between these types.
He doesn't
have any green. And he doesn't understand them at all. And
he definitely doesn't value them.
No. And anyway, the blues, he says to make Excel sheets, and that's so true. I have run across very few people that get excited about Excel like I do. And but one thing that he really needs to look up, he might have got confused about this. He says that they're the least, the personality type that has the least number of representatives is the red, and that's not true. You have to look into it. He might have got confused because sometimes, like I was saying, sometimes other people use different colors. They use the same green, yellow, red, blue, almost always, but not necessarily to represent the same characters, personality types. So he might have got confused about that. He might have also got confused about the fact that he might have looked up dominance and thought, oh, well, this refers to the reds, as he calls them. Sometimes I've seen the analytical people listed as dominant, and my guess is because some people have realized, oh, they're actually the dominant mental group. they're really the only ones that should be listened to make big decisions like this, or like in business or anything, because they're the ones that actually do the research and know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. You can't become an expert of anything by only learning 3 sentences at a time. It's not going to get you through. So anyway, so that might have confused you. You might have found somebody mentioning dominant and they were referring to the analytical people. If you'd actually read what they were, like the characteristics of their dominance, you would have seen, oh wait, they're referring to analytical. Because I've come across that too. I've thought, oh, dominant, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, this person's referring to the analyticals based on, the breakdown of what they're like. So anyway, so you might want to look into that, because other people that have reported the facts before about the number of different representatives in the various categories have said that there's way less blues than the others. And actually, if you look in, there's, depending on which society, different cultures will value different personality groups more than others. So you may be reading something about one culture and they value a specific type, and then there's more representatives of that type or whatever, because people actually want to raise that type, so they work to now with this I'm mostly talking about the aggressive people. Sometimes there's cultures that really value aggressive people, and it could be different things. Like some cultures really value artistic expression in the form of drama, and even maybe paintings a bit, but mostly like in drama. And if
dance
they
too.
value drama and dance, well, you're going to have a lot more yellows, as you call them, in that society, right? And if
Music too.
yeah,
Music,
if a culture really values people who like violence, well, you're going to get a lot more reds, as you call them, in that society. And we are living in a global world now. It's not, even with COVID, people are not locking down their borders enough to keep out COVID. And there's multiculturalism all over the place, which really doesn't mean that people are exchanging ideas to try to form a mega culture that's better. There's just a whole lot of conflict.
Well, where there's a culture where, like a cosmopolitan world culture, where there's a room for everyone to have their own culture.
Well, that too.
Multiculturalism is really polyculturalism, where the traditional cultures, maybe only a half dozen around the world, or 10, are allowed to dominate, as they always have, the individuals who theoretically belong to that culture. It's absolutely against democracy. It is not progressive. It is highly regressive.
So
all you have to do is look at the fruits of it. We've had multiculturalism forever, and what it's led to is war. Cultures clash.
And, well, that's the thing. So if you actually look into cultures, and there's a lot of cultures, especially around the equator, that are quite aggressive, or tend to be, and consider the population growth rate of various places. then if you are in our society, or Western society, and the tradition has been for reds and yellows, for the aggressive personality types, as you call them, reds and yellows, to dominate in industry and in government positions and in academic positions.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately.
They don't belong in academia. They don't, frankly, don't belong anywhere.
But, and this is, the reason that the West got ahead was because the analytical people were valued there for a while, and then they were kind of crushed under the thumb again.
They were valued more than they were in other societies.
Yes.
There are very few
Relatively.
of them.
Yeah.
Very few of them.
And
It's not because they're born that way. They're still
No.
not valued enough.
not enough, because they should be the ones that are anyway.
Helping people to make decisions.
Because the passive personality types, they build and maintain civilization. The aggressive personality types hold back civilization from developing and destroy it.
The reds do in particular. The yellows are
Oh, they're both.
well,
So, anyway, what was I going to say about that? I was going to say, if you are an aggressive personality type in our society and you continue to promote aggressive personality types into management positions, like you have been, because you want to, you can say, oh yeah, well there's a lot of reds in upper management because we're good there or whatever. No, you're not.
Good for
you're
nothing.
Not good there. You promote like-minded people so that you can feel like you belong there. So it's a way of justifying your own position that really deep down you know that you don't deserve. That's why he mentions in here that the reds are scared of the blues, the analyticals,
as
which
they should be.
As they should be, because
The blues analyze them and say, hey, these guys
they
are
know it's
useless.
yeah,
We're
exactly.
useless.
They know. And the reds deep down, they know that the blues are their superior.
Vastly, they're
Vastly.
superior.
So
And we're not even talking morally.
no. But anyway, what was I going to say about it? Oh, because because the world has shrunk. So many people and moving around so quickly and mixing with each other so much. A lot of the aggressive personalities from other societies are moving in to Western societies. And of course they want management positions. They can see, they realize, hey, I'm aggressive, you're aggressive, why am I not the big shot, you know? And there's just, it's very difficult to work with aggressive personality types when you're a passive person and you're trying to just get the job done. He's talking in this book about Greens being lazy at some point, and it's like, you really have to work to demotivate an amiable person to the point that they say, fuck it, you know? You have really not only been a zero as a boss, but an extreme negative, because the amiable people are the whistle while you work people. They love working. So lazy, come on now. That just shows what kind of leader you are. That's all. Okay, you may as well go ahead with your review.
Reviews.
Or reviews.
How much time we got?
5 minutes. I'll get you your dip in the meantime.
Okay, I'll see you. sort of books I can handle. So the theme of this review, or these reviews, is going to be communism. So that's The Crimes of Stalin. The book is not nearly big enough to do justice to his crimes and his cronies' crimes, stuff like that.
Here's your deb.
So, you know, there are a lot of people go around saying, oh, Stalin doesn't represent communism. He changed it from Lenin. Okay. This is called The Dictatorship of the Proletariat, by a guy called Karl Kautsky. He's long dead now. And I'll give you a background on Karl Kautsky. So he does not like the dictatorship of the proletariat. He claims that Marx used it. He kind of suggests that he used it in a letter once. I'm a little suspicious. Marx actually used the concept, whether or not he used the term. So, born of Czech parents, Karl Kautsky, his name seems Polish, but born of Czech parents. So he lived from 1854 to 1938, lived most of his life in Germany, where in 1883, and I think that's the year of Marx's death. How many of you folks know that? Anyway, even you commies. 1883, he founded and edited Die Neue Zeit, which is the New Time, or New Times, to translate more smoothly. A theoretical organ of the German Social Democratic Party. It said Social Democratic Party. He knew both Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. I think Engels made it until 1895. And after their deaths, that'd be both of their deaths, became principal literary executor of their works. Isn't that incredible? So, you know, like he was with the Social Democratic Party, but basically it was like the Communist Party. From 1918 until his death, so he died in 1938, for 20 years, Kautsky was the best-known socialist adversary of Bolshevism. So that's Leninism. Got that straight, and then it morphed into Stalinism. It became even worse. It was like COVID turning into Delta. And we'll see what happens after Omicron. This book is one of the... So COVID is already bad, is my point, and then Delta's worse. This book is one of the most remarkable and controversial documents of the history of Marxism. Kautsky's famous assault, it's not an assault, come on, it's a defense against, but they call it an assault, on the dictatorship of the proletariat as practiced by the Bolsheviks after the Russian Revolution. Written in 1918, it provoked Lenin. It didn't really provoke him, but Lenin was easy to provoke, okay? It provoked Lenin to write the proletarian revolution and renegade Kautsky. I mean, to some of these words, the lickspittle lackey of the capitalist, toady of the capitalists. So here's renegade Kautsky, when actually Kautsky is closer to the original formulation of Marx.